the most isolated continent on Earth. A kilo of cocaine is worth $100,000, the highest price on the planet. For decades, Mexican cartels and motorcycle gangs controlled the market, until the Albanians arrived. Silent, lethal, invisible. In less than a decade, they conquered the most lucrative cocaine market in the Southern Hemisphere. This is the story of how a criminal network from the Balkans crossed the world to build an empire constructed on medieval codes, blood loyalty, and millions of dollars in white powder. The first indication came in 2018. The ports of Melbourne and Sydney were recording unprecedented seizures. Containers from Ecuador, Brazil, and Argentina. Tons of cocaine hidden inside music machines, vehicle double bottoms, banana shipments. The Australian Federal Police identified a disturbing pattern. Those arrested shared something beyond trafficking routes. They were Albanians, names that didn't previously appear in databases. Apparently legitimate businessmen with export companies, luxury real estate properties, connections extending from the jungles of Colombia to the docks of Rotterdam. The question was simple but puzzling. How had a criminal organization from a country of barely 3 million inhabitants managed to displace the giants of Australian drug trafficking? The Sinaloa cartels had been operating in Australia for years, with established networks and deep contacts. The motorcycle gangs, the Hells Angels, the Comancheros, the Rebels, had dominated street distribution since the 80s. Chinese groups controlled methamphetamine trafficking. The Lebanese had consolidated territories in Sydney. Australia was a saturated market, violent, fiercely guarded by organizations with decades of experience. And yet the Albanians had penetrated every level. Not as violent invaders, not with territorial wars that left bodies in the streets. They arrived with a different proposition. Higher purity cocaine at lower prices, guaranteed punctual deliveries, absolute discretion, and something no other organization could offer. Total control of the supply chain, from plantations in Colombia to the streets of Sydney. The Australian Crime Commission acknowledged the obvious. The Albanian Mafia wasn't playing the same game as everyone else. They had rewritten the rules. The investigation revealed a global network operating with business sophistication and calculated brutality. Shell companies in Ecuador registered under Albanian names, direct links with Colombian producers, alliances with the Italian 'Ndrangheta in European ports, and now dominant presence in the most lucrative market on the planet. The enigma was clear. How did they achieve it? And why didn't anyone see them coming? To understand the Albanian conquest of Australia, you must go back 30 years, to the mountains of Albania, to the collapse of communism, to the ancestral codes that define Albanian criminal identity. The Albanian Mafia is not an organization. It's a set of family clans united by blood, loyalty, and a medieval code that has survived more than 600 years. The Kanun of Leka Dukagjini, 1,262 articles that regulate all aspects of life in the mountainous territories of northern Albania. The Kanun establishes two fundamental principles, Besa and Nderi. Besa is the word of honor, a sacred promise that cannot be broken under any circumstances. It's not an abstract concept. It's the foundation of every transaction, every alliance, every commitment. Breaking Besa means losing honor. And without honor, a man doesn't exist. Nderi is family honor. It extends across generations. Protecting it is more important than life itself. The Kanun also regulates blood vengeance, jakmarja. If a family member is killed, their relatives have the social obligation to seek revenge. Head for head, blood for blood. These codes, forged in a stateless society for centuries, created impenetrable criminal structures. Albanian clans operate exclusively with direct relatives. Fathers, sons, brothers, uncles, nephews. Loyalty is guaranteed by blood ties. Betrayal is impossible. There are no informants, no cooperators with police. Albanians eat years of prison in silence because from childhood, they're taught that loyalty to the clan is non-negotiable. This family structure distinguishes them from other mafias. The Sicilian Cosa Nostra, the Neapolitan Camorra, the Russian mafias, all were weakened by informants. Members who broke under police pressure, who negotiated reduced sentences in exchange for testimony. Albanians never talk. Besa prevents it. Inderi prohibits it. The Kanun punishes it with death. The collapse of communism in 1991 freed Albania from 40 years of brutal isolation under Enver Hoxha. The regime had repressed organized crime with an iron fist, but it also created the perfect conditions for its subsequent explosion. The economy collapsed, institutions disintegrated, poverty spread, and the Albanian clans who had survived centuries of Turkish, Italian, and German invasions found in organized crime a way out. The Albanian diaspora expanded throughout Europe. The Kosovo War in the 90s accelerated the process. Thousands of Albanians emigrated as refugees. They settled in Italy, Greece, Germany, the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia. Many were legitimate workers seeking better lives, but among them traveled members of criminal clans. They established cells in key cities, learned languages, created legitimate businesses, and waited. The Albanian Mafia began as an intermediary. They trafficked heroin from Turkey to Western Europe via the Balkan route. They worked for larger groups, the Calabrian 'Ndrangheta, the Sicilian Cosa Nostra, Colombian cartels. But they learned quickly. They observed how the major organizations operated. They studied the roots, corruption methods, money laundering techniques, and they decided to eliminate intermediaries. In the early 2000s, the Albanians made a revolutionary move. They traveled directly to South America, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia. They negotiated with cocaine producers. They offered to buy directly at origin. They eliminated layers of intermediaries that inflated prices. A kilo of cocaine in Ecuador cost $4,000. In Europe, it sold for 30,000 euros. The profit margin was extraordinary, but the true Albanian genius was logistics. They established legitimate export companies in Ecuador. They bought maritime containers. They hired port workers. They bribed customs officials, and they created a transportation system that moved tons of cocaine disguised in legitimate shipments. Ecuadorian bananas, frozen Spanish tuna, industrial machinery, furniture, everything served as cover. Australia appeared on the Albanian radar for one simple reason: prices. A kilo of cocaine in Australia was worth between $80,000 and $100,000, 5 times more than in Europe. The market was booming. Cocaine consumption in cities like Sydney and Melbourne was skyrocketing. Young professionals with money, a vibrant nightlife culture, and extensive coastlines impossible to completely monitor. Australia was drug trafficking paradise. The Albanians saw the opportunity before anyone else. While Mexican cartels concentrated on the United States and Europe, and Australian motorcycle gangs depended on external suppliers, the Albanians built the infrastructure to dominate the market. They didn't need permission. They didn't ask for territories. They arrived with superior product and competitive prices, and they waited for buyers to come to them. Albanian penetration of Australia began quietly in the mid-2000s. The first operators arrived as legal immigrants. They applied for work visas. Some claimed persecution from blood feuds in Albania, using the Kanun as justification for asylum. Australian authorities, unaware of the complexities of Albanian criminal culture, approved many applications. Others entered with fraudulent documents, false visas, invented identities. Networks of corrupt migration agents facilitated the process. Once established, the Albanians replicated their European model. They bought properties, they opened legitimate businesses, restaurants, bars, construction companies, transportation firms. These operations served a dual purpose. They generated legal income and provided infrastructure to launder drug trafficking money. Australian intelligence documents identified a 5-stage cycle in Albanian criminal operations: recruitment in Albania, entry to Australia with fraudulent documents, establishment of legitimate businesses, construction of trafficking networks, and finally, domination of specific markets. The first significant seizures occurred between 2014 and 2019. 4 major police operations: Operation Balkans, White Gold, Impact 444, Avalanche 258. In total, authorities seized more than 1,200 kilos of cocaine destined for Australia. Those arrested were Albanians and Greeks working in coordination. Operation Impact 444 in 2018 was particularly revealing. A sailboat departed from Salinas, Ecuador, with 332 packages of cocaine hidden aboard. Destination, Australia. The organizers were an Albanian, Miklavan Kaitazi, and a Greek, Georgios Liosis. The investigation revealed they were emissaries of a larger network with leaders in Greece and Albania. But the seizures didn't stop the flow. For every shipment intercepted, 10 arrived without problems. Authorities estimated that 90% of Albanian cocaine passed undetected. Concealment methods constantly evolved. Music machines called jukeboxes with secret compartments. Vehicles with welded double bottoms. Refrigerated containers where cocaine was hidden beneath layers of frozen products. The logo of LeBron James's number 23 appeared marked on some packages, a quality signature that traffickers used as guarantee. The Albanian network in Australia operated with business sophistication. They weren't street thugs. They were businessmen with university education. They handled cryptocurrencies. They operated offshore accounts. They created shell companies in tax havens. And they maintained a low profile. No ostentatious displays. No unnecessary violence. The Albanian model was simple. Deliver quality product, maintain competitive prices, and let the market come to them. Australian motorcycle gangs initially saw the Albanians as convenient suppliers. The Hells Angels, the Comancheros, the Rebels all began buying Albanian cocaine. The purity was superior to what the Mexicans offered. The prices were better. And delivery punctuality was impeccable. The Albanians never failed, never stole product, never betrayed agreements. Besa guaranteed reliability, but the relationship was deeper. The Albanians didn't just supply cocaine, they also offered money laundering services, real estate investments in Europe, access to casinos in multiple countries, connections with Turkish and Chinese networks to launder cash. The Albanian Mafia wasn't just a drug supplier, it was an integral financial partner. The commander of the New South Wales Police, Nick Bingham, publicly acknowledged the change. Albanian criminal groups had attracted the attention of all organizations: Lebanese gangs, Chinese groups, motorcycle gangs. Everyone wanted access to Albanian cocaine. The Australian market was experiencing what the media called a national cocaine epidemic. Seizures increased every year, consumption skyrocketed, and the Albanians were at the center of everything. By 2020, Albanian presence in Australia was undeniable. The Australian Crime Commission estimated that Albanian groups controlled a significant portion of the cocaine market. Not 100%, but a disproportionately large share considering their size. Mexican cartels remained active. Chinese gangs dominated methamphetamine. But in cocaine, the Albanians had become major players. The escalation wasn't violent. That was the crucial difference. In Europe, the arrival of the Albanians had generated territorial wars. In the United Kingdom, confrontations with Nigerian and Turkish groups left dead in the streets. In the Netherlands, explosions and assassinations marked competition for port control. But in Australia, the Albanians adopted a different approach: negotiation over confrontation, partnership over domination. They arrived with a proposal no one could refuse, and the market accepted them. The breaking point came in March 2023. An encrypted message circulated through secure communication applications used by Australian criminals. The sender identified as a cartel of criminal organizations, including several prominent motorcycle gangs. The message was clear: supply freeze order. For 4 weeks, all distributors must stop selling cocaine bricks. Only selling ounces and grams would be permitted to maintain basic income. The stated objective was to inflate prices and expose foreign traffickers who were flooding the market. The message directly accused Albanian, Canadian, South American, and British groups of destroying the Australian market. Prices had collapsed. In a single week in March, the kilo of cocaine fell more than $100,000, sinking the price below $250,000 per kilo. The message was explicit in its frustration. You're coming into our country desperate to sell, trying to dictate our market. You've angered everyone and destroyed our beautiful market, driving people to violence and robberies. The cartel quoted Warren Buffett on patience in markets, quoted Henry Ford on working together, and threatened serious consequences for those who broke ranks. State and territorial police agencies were put on alert. Violent acts of retribution between distributors and dealers were expected. The Australian cocaine market was on the brink of war, but the war never came. A Melbourne criminal investigator, speaking anonymously, dismissed the message. This is a jungle and there's no honor among thieves. These guys have watched too many gangster movies and idolized the New York Mafia or Al Capone. The reality was different. The market was fragmented. There was no unified cartel capable of imposing discipline, and the Albanians didn't need to respond to threats. They simply continued operating. The true revelation of 2023 wasn't the failed attempt to control prices. It was the magnitude of Albanian operations. In a single police operation, Australian authorities dismantled a trafficking network led by Albanians worth over $1 billion. They seized 1.5 tons of drugs, more than 400 kilos of methamphetamine, more than 500 kilos of cocaine, $20 million in cash. The network leaders were Albanians established in multiple Australian cities. Some had acquired Australian citizenship years earlier. They bought expensive properties, they traveled frequently to Europe, and they maintained active connections with criminal networks in Albania, Italy, Greece, and South America. One of those detained was the nephew of an influential Albanian politician. Australian intelligence documents link this politician to the leadership of a criminal organization operating from Albania. The politician, established in Australia since 1997, had built an empire in the construction and fuel sectors. He had privatized Albanian state companies in the 2000s. And according to Australian investigators, he used his position to establish a transnational criminal network. From a cell in an Ecuadorian prison, he continued directing operations. His case revealed the complexity of Albanian networks. They weren't simple drug traffickers. They were criminal businessmen with political connections, financial capacity, and global reach. Police pressure increased. Joint operations between Australia, Italy, Albania, and Ecuador dismantled key cells. In Albania, authorities raided cocaine processing laboratories. They seized almost 90 kilos of drug-mixing materials. They arrested 10 members of an organization that transported cocaine from Latin America via Italy to Albania, and from there throughout Europe. Australia was on those routes, but each arrest revealed the decentralized nature of the Albanian Mafia. There was no pyramidal hierarchy with a boss in command. Each family clan operated independently. They cooperated when convenient. They shared routes and contacts, but they didn't answer to a central authority. This structure made it impossible to dismantle the entire organization. Cutting one head didn't kill the monster. 2 more grew. The real breaking point was official recognition. Australian authorities publicly admitted what investigators had known for years. The Albanian Mafia controlled a significant portion of the Australian cocaine market. They weren't marginal competitors. They were dominant players. And unlike other organizations, they showed no signs of weakening. Today, the Australian cocaine market bears the Albanian mark. It's not a monopoly. It never was. Mexican cartels remain active. Chinese groups control methamphetamine. Motorcycle gangs distribute on the streets, but the Albanians occupy the most lucrative space in the chain. Wholesale importation, route control from South America, direct connections with producers, and a distribution network spanning multiple continents. The Albanian conquest of Australia is a case study in criminal adaptation. While other organizations clung to traditional methods, the Albanians innovated. They eliminated unnecessary intermediaries. They reduced operational costs. They increased profit margins. And they did it without territorial wars that attracted police attention. Their strategy was businesslike. Offer better product at better price. Maintain absolute reliability. And let the market choose them. The Kanun, that medieval code from the Albanian mountains, turned out to be the definitive competitive advantage in global drug trafficking. The unbreakable loyalty guaranteed by blood ties meant zero informants. BISA-insured agreements were always fulfilled. Ndari prevented behaviors that would stain family honor. These principles, forged in 15th century tribal societies, translated perfectly to modern organized crime structures. Australian authorities face an unsolvable challenge. The decentralized structure of Albanian clans makes it impossible to dismantle the entire organization. Arrests are tactical blows, not strategic ones. For every operator captured, another family member takes their place. The Albanian diaspora provides an infinite reservoir of potential recruits, and corruption in transit countries like Ecuador guarantees routes remain open. Europe watches with concern. The Albanians dominate the cocaine market in the United Kingdom. They control key ports in the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain. They've forged unbreakable alliances with the Italian 'Ndrangheta, and now they're replicating that success in the Southern Hemisphere. Australia is just the beginning. The Albanians are looking toward New Zealand, South Africa, East Asia. Any market with high prices and growing demand is a potential target. The price of this expansion is paid on multiple fronts. In Albania, drug trafficking money corrodes institutions from within. Politicians linked to crime, bought judges, police on clan payrolls. The country faces warnings from the European Union: clean up your institutions or forget membership. But the problem is structural. Decades of organized crime have infiltrated every level of the Albanian state. In Australia, cocaine consumption reaches record levels. Young professionals in Sydney and Melbourne consume the product without considering the chain of violence behind it. The streets of Medellin where it's produced, the Ecuadorian ports where it corrupts, the Albanian prisons where it's planned, the laundering system that moves billions through legitimate economies. Each gram of Australian cocaine finances this global infrastructure of violence and corruption. The lessons are clear but discouraging. Organized crime evolves faster than police responses. National borders are irrelevant to transnational organizations, and ancient cultural codes can be competitive advantages in modern criminal markets. The Albanians didn't invent drug trafficking. They simply executed it better than anyone. The Albanian Mafia took the Australian cocaine market not with violence, but with efficiency. Not with intimidation, but with reliability. Not with wars, but with business. They arrived with a simple proposition: better product, better price, better service. And the market responded. In the world of global drug trafficking, where loyalty is rare commodity and betrayal is common currency, the Albanians offered something unique: the unbreakable guarantee of Besa, the unbreakable protection of Nderi, and the unbreakable backing of family clans willing to die before breaking their word. Australia learned what Europe already knew. When the Albanians arrive at a market, it's not an invasion, it's a transformation, and once established, they're impossible to dislodge. The most lucrative cocaine market in the Southern Hemisphere now bears the seal of the Albanian mountains. A 15th century code conquered the 21st century market, and nobody knows how to stop them.